Okay, you're thinking about owning a sports team. You can see the attraction: your name attached to a franchise, a seat near the field, access to players and executives, and an entire city reacting to your organization. But the scoreboard and the balance sheet often tell different stories. A team can miss the playoffs, report a narrow operating profit, or even an accounting loss, and still become more valuable. This breakdown will show what you are buying, where the money comes from, where it disappears, why annual profit differs from ownership return, and what can turn a celebrated acquisition into a leveraged problem. Start with the purchase itself. Buying an ordinary business usually means negotiating with the seller, arranging financing, completing due diligence, and closing the transaction. A major league franchise adds another gatekeeper. The other owners, or the league's governing board, generally must approve a transfer of control. They are not simply checking whether your money arrives. They examine the proposed ownership group, its financing, its reputation, its ability to fund future operations, and whether it fits the league's rules. You are purchasing a company, but you are also applying for membership in a tightly controlled association. That distinction creates the first economic advantage. A successful restaurant can attract 10 competitors. A professional league does not allow 10 new teams to appear because investors see strong demand. Expansion happens only when existing owners approve it. Choose the markets, set the conditions, and decide how the new entry affects shared revenue. Even then, the expansion payment is only the beginning. The new owner may still need an arena, practice facilities, front office systems, working capital, player acquisition resources, and a plan for years of losses while the market develops. Scarcity does not guarantee that every franchise is a good purchase, but it changes negotiations. There are many wealthy buyers and few controlling interests available. A seller can attract bidders considering more than cash yield. Some want prestige, influence, or a platform for real estate, media, hospitality, and other businesses. When buyers value those benefits differently, the winning bid can rise beyond what a conventional operating profit multiple would justify. What exactly sits inside the purchase? Depending on the transaction, you may acquire league membership rights, the team brand, player contracts, sponsorship agreements, media rights, training facilities, ticketing relationships, intellectual property, merchandise rights, and interests in an arena or surrounding development. You may also inherit debt, deferred compensation, facility obligations, litigation, pension commitments, revenue sharing adjustments, and expensive promises made to local government. The headline sale price rarely describes the full capital requirement. Financing creates another complication. A buyer may combine personal equity, partner capital, permitted team debt, and loans secured elsewhere in the owner's portfolio. Leagues often restrict leverage because a financially stressed owner can damage more than one club. If ticket sales weaken or a renovation runs over budget, the owner may need to contribute fresh equity. That is why apparent net worth and usable liquidity are different. A person can own billions in companies or real estate and still struggle to produce hundreds of millions in cash without selling assets, borrowing, or inviting partners. Once the deal closes, revenue arrives through several channels. The first is national media. Live sports remains unusually valuable because viewers prefer to watch before the result becomes old news. That creates scheduled audiences for broadcasters, streaming platforms, advertisers, and sponsors. The NBA's current national agreements run for 11 seasons, from 2025 to 26 through 2035 to 36, across Disney, NBC Universal, and Amazon. The NFL also operates through enormous long-term national packages. These contracts turn league membership into recurring distribution. Income before a team sells a single local ticket. National money is especially powerful when it is shared broadly. In the NFL, national television revenue has long been distributed equally among the clubs. Green Bay's public financial reporting offers a useful window into the model. National revenue can support a small market team even when local conditions vary. The result is not perfect equality because teams still differ in sponsorships, premium seating, stadium control, and local commercial opportunities. But a weak season does not automatically remove a club's national media payment. Local revenue sits on top of that foundation. This includes regular tickets, season ticket commitments, seat licenses where permitted, suites, club seating, concessions, parking, sponsorships, naming rights, merchandise, camps, exhibitions, and sometimes local media arrangements. Premium customers matter disproportionately. One corporate suite can produce more revenue than many standard seats. The building becomes a pricing map. Ordinary seats create atmosphere, while premium spaces, hospitality, signage, and business contracts often produce the highest revenue per square foot. A full stadium still does not equal a healthy profit. Ticket revenue is gross revenue, not owner income. From it come game day labor, security, cleaning, ticketing fees, food service costs, utilities, insurance, maintenance, league assessments, and revenue-sharing obligations. Some concessions are operated by outside vendors that keep a negotiated share. Parking may belong to a municipality or another property owner. Merchandise can be pooled or licensed through league systems. The fan sees one transaction, but the money may be divided among several parties before it reaches the team. Player compensation is usually the largest operating category, yet the rules differ by league. The NFL's 2026 salary cap is $301.2 million per club, and teams must also navigate minimum spending requirements and contract accounting rules. The NBA's 2026-27 salary cap is $164.961 million. But basketball uses a soft cap structure. Teams can exceed the basic cap under specified exceptions, then face luxury tax costs and transaction restrictions. For 2026-27, the second apron level is $221.686 million. Crossing it can reduce roster-building flexibility, not merely increase the tax bill. Those controls serve two economic purposes. First, they connect labor spending to league revenue and limit an unchecked bidding war. Second, they protect competitive uncertainty. A league in which the same wealthy club buys every star may produce strong interest in one city, but weaker national interest over time. Revenue sharing and roster rules are designed to keep enough teams credible that fans in many markets continue buying hope. Owners compete fiercely on the field while cooperating to preserve the entertainment product. Do not confuse a salary cap with a ceiling on total team costs. Coaching salaries, executive compensation, scouting, analytics, medical staff, player development, training facilities, travel, technology, marketing, community relations, legal services, and administrative payroll sit outside the player number. A club can spend heavily on these areas to gain an advantage. Some costs rise with success: playoff travel, bonuses, extra game operations, and event staffing. Winning can increase revenue while creating immediate cash demands. The venue may be the second giant cost center. A modern stadium or arena can require billions of dollars once land. Construction, design, infrastructure, financing, and overruns are included. The ownership structure matters. A team may own the building, lease it from a public authority, share it with another tenant, or operate it under a long-term agreement. Ownership can provide control over events and development, but it also brings maintenance and capital expenditure. Leasing may reduce upfront capital while limiting upside and leaving the team exposed to rent, renewal, or relocation negotiations. Public financing makes this area controversial. The Buffalo Bills' new stadium was initially presented as a $1.4 billion project with $600 million from New York State and $250 million from Erie County. As projected cost moved above $2.1 billion, the team's owners became responsible for major overruns under the agreement. That example shows why the simple phrase, taxpayer-funded stadium, can hide several layers: direct public contributions, infrastructure, tax treatment, private equity, league loans, sit license revenue, operating obligations, and who bears cost overruns. For a city, the promised benefit is usually jobs, visitor spending, identity, and major events. Economic research is less enthusiastic about claims that a stadium automatically creates large net growth. A household spending at a game may reduce spending at another local business. Construction produces real activity, and some districts benefit, but results depend on financing cost, land use, displacement, event volume, and who receives the revenue. Civic value may exist, yet it is not a guaranteed financial return to taxpayers. For the owner, stadium control can unlock revenue that is less dependent on the team's record. Concerts, conventions, college games, food festivals, naming rights, advertising, tours, and hospitality can fill dates outside the regular season. The more days the venue operates, the more useful its fixed infrastructure becomes. However, each event also carries direct costs: promoter agreements, staffing, wear, security, and scheduling risk. A busy calendar is valuable only when the contribution after those costs is positive. The strongest venue strategies extend beyond the building. Mixed-use districts can include apartments, offices, hotels, restaurants, retail, parking, and entertainment. The Atlanta Braves provide a publicly reported example because Atlanta Braves Holdings separates baseball operations from mixed-use development in its filings. The baseball team attracts attention and traffic. The surrounding property can collect rent and event income throughout the year. This does not mean every stadium district succeeds. It means a franchise may function as the anchor tenant of a broader commercial property strategy that creates an important accounting separation. Rent from surrounding buildings is not baseball ticket revenue. Property appreciation is not operating profit. Borrowed construction money is not revenue. A land parcel may rise in value while the team experiences a cash squeeze. Conversely, a club may produce positive operating cash flow while an over-leveraged development struggles. Owners need consolidated reporting, but they also need segment reporting, so they can see which part of the empire is actually performing. Now consider a simplified ownership model. Maya leads a group buying a mid-market basketball franchise. The following figures are educational, not a market forecast. In the first full year, the team records $500 million of revenue. National and local media contribute $210 million. Tickets and premium seating add $145 million. Sponsorship, licensing, concessions, parking, and other activities provide the remaining $145 million. The arena looks busy, the sponsorship wall is full, and the revenue headline appears impressive. Then the expenses arrive. Player salaries and related team costs total $235 million. Coaching, basketball operations, front office payroll, travel, insurance, marketing, arena operations, and league charges total $190 million. That leaves $75 million before interest, taxes, depreciation, and certain owner-level costs. The acquisition, debt, and facility financing require $42 million of annual interest and scheduled principal payments. Although accounting treatment separates interest from principal, renovations consume another $20 million of cash. The business can therefore report an operating profit while producing far less distributable cash than the owners expected. Suppose the ownership group also promised to fund a new practice facility. A construction payment arrives before the season ticket renewal cycle brings in its next major cash inflow. The group must contribute capital, even though the annual income statement is positive. This is the difference between profit and cash flow. Profit measures revenue and expenses under accounting rules. Cash flow measures when dollars actually enter and leave. Debt principal and major capital expenditure can reduce cash without appearing as ordinary operating expenses. Maya's group also cannot assume that every dollar remaining belongs to the owners. The team needs working capital for payroll, deposits, insurance, renewals, travel, off-season operations, and unexpected repairs. It may maintain liquid reserves or lender covenants. Partners may prefer reinvestment rather than distributions. An owner can therefore control a highly valuable franchise and receive little current cash. Owner compensation, distributions, and appreciation are three separate economic benefits, and one should never be presented as another dot. A prospective buyer studies the durability of league membership, future media contracts, market size, arena economics, sponsorship demand, premium seat inventory, real estate rights, debt, and comparable transactions. If the league's revenue base grows and another franchise sells at a higher benchmark, investors may apply a larger value to Maya's team, even if its latest cash distribution was modest. That increase is unrealized appreciation. It becomes spendable only through a sale, refinancing, or another transaction, each of which brings costs and risk. This is why a team can be a poor, cash yield investment and a successful wealth-building asset at the same time. It is also why the opposite can occur. Paying an aggressive price with expensive debt can erase the benefit of revenue growth. A franchise may appreciate on paper while interest, capital calls, and facility obligations strain the ownership group. The purchase price determines how much future success has already been prepaid. Performance still matters, just not in a simple straight line. Winning can increase attendance, playoff revenue, merchandise demand, sponsorship pricing, and media attention. It can also strengthen season ticket renewals and justify more premium inventory. But winning is expensive and uncertain. A club may pay for stars who become injured, decline, or fail to fit together. A championship season can generate a temporary surge without permanently repairing a weak arena, small corporate market, or poor debt structure. Losing is not harmless either. Shared national revenue can prevent immediate collapse, but repeated failure can weaken local demand, reduce sponsor enthusiasm, create empty premium areas, and force discounting. Fans may remain loyal emotionally while spending less commercially. A patient owner must distinguish between a temporary competitive rebuild and deterioration in the local business. The league protects membership scarcity. It does not guarantee competent management or a strong market. Media concentration creates another risk. Long contracts provide visibility, but the next negotiation depends on audience behavior, advertiser demand, platform strategy, and the financial health of broadcasters and streamers. Local sports networks have already shown that distribution models can weaken. A team expecting every rights renewal to rise automatically may overborrow against an optimistic future. The safer approach is to test debt service under slower media growth, weaker attendance, and delayed development revenue. Labor relations can interrupt the machine. Collective bargaining determines how players and owners divide revenue, how contracts work, and what restrictions teams face. A strike or lockout can remove games while many fixed obligations continue. The pandemic demonstrated the same cash flow vulnerability from a different cause. In the Packers' fiscal year, ending March 2021, local revenue fell sharply because fans were largely absent, while national revenue increased. Shared media money provided a cushion. But it did not replace the lost stadium business. Insurance cannot eliminate every interruption. Policies have exclusions, limits, waiting periods, and disputed definitions. A team also faces injuries, cyber attacks, data failures, misconduct allegations, security incidents, litigation, regulatory changes, and reputational damage. Because the brand is public, one executive decision can affect renewals, sponsors, employees, and league relationships. Due diligence must examine governance and culture, not merely historical revenue. Minority ownership changes the economics again. A small investor may receive appreciation, exposure, without operational control. The stake may be difficult to sell, subject to league approval, and discounted because it lacks voting power. Distribution policy remains with the controlling owner. The NFL began allowing approved private equity funds to acquire limited minority interests, with the permitted fund ownership capped at 10% of a team under the announced framework. That opens a narrow source of capital, not ordinary public access. The Green Bay Packers are the famous exception to conventional control. The organization reports hundreds of thousands of shareholders, but its stock does not pay dividends and is not designed as a normal tradable investment. The structure supports the club and community rather than giving shareholders a conventional claim on profits or appreciation. Using Green Bay as proof that any league team can simply sell shares to fans would therefore be misleading. For a prospective controlling owner, break-even should be tested in layers. First is operating break-even. Can ordinary team revenue cover ordinary team expenses? Second is cash break-even, after interest, scheduled debt principal, and recurring capital needs. Third is ownership break-even, after partner obligations and capital calls. Fourth is total return break-even, which includes the eventual sale value and transaction costs. A team may pass the first test and fail the second. It may fail the first for several years, but eventually pass the fourth through appreciation. Those are different outcomes. The owner's workload also depends on governance. Some owners act as full-time chief decision-makers. Others hire a president, general manager, chief financial officer, and venue executives. Then focus on capital allocation and league matters. A manager-operated franchise is not passive. The owner still appoints leadership, approves major spending, handles partners, votes on league policy, manages political relationships, and funds emergencies. Delegation reduces daily involvement. It does not remove accountability. Expansion and relocation create opportunity and threat. A new team can produce an expansion payment for existing owners and enlarge the league's reach. It also adds another participant to shared revenue and may alter competitive or media arrangements. Relocation can improve venue economics or market size, but it brings political conflict, transition costs, fan backlash, and league approval. Neither decision is simply moving jerseys between cities. Selling is equally complex. A controlling stake may attract strategic buyers, wealthy families, or consortiums, but the highest bidder still needs league approval. Taxes, debt repayment, transaction fees, minority rights, and contractual obligations reduce sale proceeds. A reported franchise price is not the seller's take-home amount. If the stadium, land, or development sits in separate entities, the headline may also exclude important assets or liabilities. Comparable sales must be compared carefully. The optimistic ownership case is powerful. You acquire a well-governed club at a price the capital structure can support. National media revenue remains durable. Local sponsorship and premium demand grow. The venue is controlled under favorable terms. Capital projects stay within budget. The team remains competitive enough to protect fan interest. And surrounding commercial assets develop gradually without depending on heroic forecasts. Annual distributions may be modest, but the organization compounds in value while maintaining liquidity. The difficult case is just as real. You win a bidding contest with too much debt. Media growth slows. A key sponsor leaves. Construction costs rise. The team misses the playoffs repeatedly. Local renewals weaken, and partners resist another capital call. The franchise may still be scarce, but scarcity does not make interest payments disappear. You can own a celebrated asset and still be forced to refinance from a weak position. The final lesson is that owning a sports team is not mainly a wager on next season's record. It is a regulated membership interest connected to media contracts, labor agreements, a public brand, venue economics, and sometimes real estate. Revenue can be enormous while distributable cash remains limited. Operating losses can coexist with appreciation, but appreciation cannot pay bills until converted into cash. The smartest owner watches both scoreboards, the one fans see and the one tracking leverage, liquidity, rights revenue, capital expenditure, and control.